45 years, 0 name changes, new offices, more staff, improved technology to better serve you. Education, services, investments. Think real estate, think Marshall Reddick. Brokerage, property management, private lending, creating financial independence through real estate since 1979.
Again, we'll welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Really excited to be going over the new Braunfels market. Lots of really interesting things to talk about. Of course, it's placement, and it's actually, I'm a bit biased of New Braunfels personally. Early on in my career at Marshall Reddick, I actually purchased a small property in New Braunfels. It's done really, really well. So I always have a bit of a, a special spot for it. It's just, it's done really well, and visited multiple times, and really cool city to be able to visit, and has performed well from the investment standpoint. So we're here to tell you a little bit more about it and what makes it a good investment market. Now, before we go into that though, I just want to make a quick introduction. My name is Vince Tomich. I'm an advisor and agent here at Marshall Reddick. I've been with the company now for just over 6 years. My background is in residential lending. So prior to my role as an advisor and as an agent, I was a residential lender. So I helped folks, with the financing component of buying real estate. And that's really what gave me the background and the basis for the investment business that we basically focus on, or that I focus on today. In addition to, of course, being an employee of Marshall Reddick, I am a client of Marshall Reddick. So I like to say that I practice what I preach, in that I purchased real estate with Marshall Reddick. I've had them manage that property. I have borrowed money with Marshall Reddick. I have lent money with Marshall Reddick. So like I said, it's very helpful being a client and being able to explain, scenarios and stories, and relate to you folks that might be looking for certain guidance or have questions about your own personal scenarios. So that's always been a great factor in being able to participate personally in what Marshall Reddick has to offer. So yeah, I am, but I'm usually the first chain of contact, right, with Marshall Reddick. I am the person that usually tries to figure out a little bit more about you and what you're trying to accomplish. And then we have an awesome team behind us that can help facilitate in whatever direction you want to go. And I can explain for those of you that are new to Marshall Reddick what those directions are, right? But before we go into a little bit more about Marshall Reddick, we're just gonna, topics we're gonna cover today. Of course, we'll go over the Marshall Reddick services, how we choose a good investment market. We're gonna go over New Braunfels in more detail. We'll also have some property examples, and then, kind of what next step looks like after this presentation. For you guys, if you wanna just take some notes, feel free to ask questions. We may or may not be able to get to all of those, or those depending on the time of the presentation, but rest assured, if you do have questions that aren't answered tonight, I will be doing follow-up calls, and we can always get those answered for you. And then we'll be able to provide you links, and this will be recorded in the event you missed something or you want to watch this back. So as I mentioned, for those of you that are new to Marshall Reddick, I like to just explain who we are and what we do. So I like to consider Marshall Reddick as a full service real estate firm. And we basically have 4 separate divisions. So number 1 is real estate brokerage, right? So we help people buy and sell, whether that's a primary residence or an investment property. We can help, in either direction. Property management is another huge component of our business. So those of you that buy an investment property are gonna most likely seek property management, right? Property management basically does the day-to-day operations of the property. So that starts from, marketing the property, any kind of maintenance or repair request, collection of rent, disbursement of rent, screening tenants, anything that wouldn't be involved in the property, we would handle on your behalf. Next is we're a private money lender. So there's like a conventional lender who lends to long-term, individuals who are seeking primaries or investment properties. We are a private money lender, and most of our borrowers are going to be more of like the folks that are fixing and flipping homes. or that need short-term financing like bridge loans. You could have folks that might need loans in their self-directed retirement account that would not qualify for a conventional loan. That's another example of people who borrow from us. In addition to lending money, we also provide the opportunity to you as an investor to, you can lend your capital. So instead of buying a piece of property and collecting rent checks, you can lend your money and collect mortgage payments. And we do that in a few different ways, but one is through our investment fund. So we have a mortgage fund that basically is a pooled investment, and you can then collect quarterly distributions from that fund via payments from the borrowers that I just described. So it's almost like a mutual fund of loans, right? So there's a vast majority all across the country. So it really helps with that diversification. We also offer the opportunity for lenders, if you would like to fund individual loans, we offer that service as well. So for any of these services, I know tonight our topic is the new Braunfels market and what makes that an interesting and attractive market. But if any of these other services, make sense to you, we'd be happy to discuss that in more detail. Here's just a quick map of where Marshall Reddick is across the country. So I'm located here in Southern California. I'm in our Newport Beach office. We have a presence in Los Angeles, of course, New Braunfels, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, Dallas, Nashville, Tennessee, Clarksville, Tennessee, and Cape Coral, Florida. So any and all interest in those markets, we can be a great resource for you, whether it's the brokerage or property management. So again, happy to explain or go into any more detail for those looking for different markets. Now, some of you may ask, how did we choose those markets? What makes those markets a place that we, Marshall Reddick, want to set up shop, or that we encourage our investors to set up shop or to buy? It's a great question. We have a list of criteria here that we feel like are good factors or good criteria to stand by that create a strong market, especially for rentals. One is job market. We want that to be strong. Low vacancy rate. Economic diversity is always really important. Affordability, right? For those of you in Southern California like myself, that's often a challenge. Strong education, and then last but not least, reliable property management. Here's a quick screenshot of all of our various teams. Like I said in the beginning of the call, it's not just Gerard and I here working away. There is a lot of folks behind us from, like I said, brokerage, property management, private lending, accounting, the software team. There's so many folks that make Marshall Reddick what it is today. So we like to just do a quick screenshot so everybody knows kind of what the team looks like. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to Gerard Kolodejczyk. Gerard has been an incredible resource to so many of our clients. He's a good friend of mine, and just an awesome guy. I am really happy to be able to host this event with him tonight and to be able to work with you folks with him, because he takes so much time and dedication into helping individuals find the right property and to make sure it's done right. I don't want to take too much of his intro, but his background in construction is so crucial when it comes to seeking out new construction opportunities, and being able to have him on that and have his eyes on these projects is so helpful. So really excited to have you on, Gerard. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you, Vince, and welcome everybody. Thanks for attending tonight. As Vince mentioned, we do quite a bit together. A little bit about me, you'll see here on the screen. I am a native of San Antonio. My wife and I do own real estate investments. I've been doing real estate. I was in mortgage. I was a mortgage loan officer for about 6 years. I actually got my broker's license, and I got my broker's license in 2007. It didn't work out real well after that. So I moved in. I was in the construction industry for about 6 years after that. and learned quite a bit, and somehow just gravitated over to real estate sales, and probably been having some of the most fun I have in my working career in a while. I'm happily married to my best friend, dad of 3 amazing little ladies. A little bit about me there on the bottom. I love to go fishing. I love to play guitar and sing. Did that for a profession for a little bit as well. So just a little fun fact there. But I am a broker associate with Marshall Reddick, and really take pride in trying to understand how I can be the best resource for somebody that might be interested in purchasing property in an area that they may not live in. I mean, when I first started working here, I was trying to understand, how somebody could purchase a property and not be from here. And actually, it's been a lot of fun to be able to be that resource and learn how to encourage people and show them by example of how and why I would invest. I really enjoy the number parts of everything that we do. Vince and I go back and forth all the time with the lender, and we have great conversations just talking about how the numbers work, and we just really have a lot of fun with it. But it's nice to be able to show somebody who might really understand that the area would be a great investment for them, but be their eyes and ears, boots on the ground, working with these builders, the lenders, everything we can do, property management, everything we can do to just make this a seamless experience and something that you're a raving fan of. So really, really excited to be on a call and hopefully get to have a conversation with some of you. So a little bit about New Braunfels. I live downtown in San Antonio, Texas, but I am up and down the I-35 corridor. If we're looking at the map here, the I-35 corridor is what connects San Antonio and Austin. And there's a lot of attraction going on to this area right now. In Texas, Dallas and Fort Worth combined into a mega metro, and a lot of that combination and a lot of that growth has already happened, but it's been super successful. And most of the economic development industry professionals feel like that's what's happening right now between San Antonio and Austin, and we can see it. We're going to have some examples a little bit later on as we talk through that. It's growing so fast, so rapidly, and we're just trying to keep up with the amount of people that are migrating to Texas. New Braunfels is almost centrally located between San Antonio and Austin, and my wife owns a recruiting agency, and employers are taking notice of that. And so you have a lot of companies that want to relocate and be central between Austin and San Antonio, knowing that each major city has its strength, and they want to be able to pull talent from both San Antonio and Austin. So there's a lot to talk about there. There's a lot of reasons that somebody would go to New Braunfels. It's seen as a little fun town. That's what a lot of people consider it, in between San Antonio and Austin. There's some great things there. The Guadalupe River is amazing. Comal River as well. It started off as a German town. The little fun fact at the bottom there talks about a little bit about the German. Actually, it's on the next page. We'll talk about it. But it started off as a German town. There's still a lot of German culture there. Probably one of the biggest Oktoberfests in the state of Texas. People come from all over the state to New Braunfels to enjoy that. Live country music. There's always major artists, Nashville artists, major Texas country artists that play in the little historic town of Greene, which is also a little German town. Just some great escapes. And then we have things out there like Schlitterbahn is the largest water park in the United States. So, it gets real hot here in the summers, and we do our best to figure out how to have a really good time with that heat. So there's a lot of really neat things that would draw you to San Antonio, but ultimately, between all the extracurricular activities and the fun things to do in the parks, the wildlife, again, you revert back, why would I invest in this area? There's a lot of areas that have neat things like this, but really the growth is happening on both sides of New Braunfels. And New Braunfels, if you go to the east, kind of southeast, you hit Seguin area. New Braunfels is so saturated right now that it's kind of busting at the seams in the downtown New Braunfels area and around. And so a lot of the traffic is also moving towards Seguin. We're going to talk about that a little bit. You'll see that on the map there. You'll see the star just southeast of that. You'll see the city of Seguin. There's quite a bit going on there. And the growth has just been really amazing. Let's talk about a little bit on the location. We already talked about how it's centrally located, but the expansion that's happening there. We can also talk about the attractions, tourism. Not only do you have, you know, these major water parks, but just the tourism itself. Tourism in New Braunfels generated $700 million in economic impact, and that's on an annual basis. It really brings a lot of people in. Thriving employment opportunities projections indicate a staggering 46.5% increase in job growth since 2027. People want to be there. This is also very close to San Marcos, which is a big college town. A lot of people in San Marcos, my sister went to school there, and she would go work in New Braunfels. There was, you know, there's only so many things you can do in a college town. And so there was a lot more opportunity for work in New Braunfels. And some of her classmates and the people she went to school with actually lived in New Braunfels. It's probably 20-25 minute drive. It's not too far. So a lot of people lived in New Braunfels and had more fun there than they did in the college town itself. So you know, lots to do there, lots of attractions. Let's talk about the population a little bit in New Braunfels. So it's one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. One of the biggest things, and I'm not going to touch on everything here, I'd like you to read through if you'd like, but between 2018 and 2023, New Braunfels experienced almost a 30% population growth, adding over 25,000 residents. Back in 2023, of course, all this data comes out very late. It was almost 111,000 people. And that's a huge, when you add 25,000, well, there's 25,000 people that added to that just in that 5-year period. You can tell that as people are migrating to Texas and really understanding, hey, cost of living is low, opportunity for growth is great. You know, that just goes to show this small little city in between San Antonio and Austin has a lot of it's very attractive to people. Low cost basis. I mean, in Texas overall, San Antonio and New Braunfels, even into Austin compared to other places in California and New York, cost of living is very affordable compared to some of these other areas. And with as much growth that's happening, we can already see it in Austin. Austin, the cost of a home is about double what it is in San Antonio. And New Braunfels, as saturated as it is, you know, actually has higher appreciation than San Antonio. And you know, the more and more people that go out there, the more and more it's starting to act like Austin, which is great. And it's great for the people that invest early enough to be able to experience that saturation, the appreciation. Safety, we'll talk about that. New Braunfels is actually considered one of the safest cities in Texas. Super low for violent crimes. Anything that happens there, I think it was like a 1.47 out of 1,000 people have some kind of major crime there, as compared to some of Dallas and Austin. I mean, the larger cities have just, you know, more going on there. But the other part about it too is you're in between San Antonio and Austin. You have these huge police presences in both of those towns. So if there was ever anything major going on, you would have police departments running from both cities to go take care of it. And it's you know, super low crime rates, and it's been very attractive. Housing activities, let's talk about this a little bit. You know, Vince and I were talking about this before we started, and, you know, both of us being in the mortgage business, we knew when 07 and 08 hit, it was a pretty big crash. As I mentioned, I was in the mortgage business, absolutely loving what I was doing, and everything was interrupted because I got my broker's license, and it couldn't have been a worse time. Everything just crashed down. Friends of mine that had been in the business, owned their own business for years, were doing their best to stay afloat as it got pretty rough during those times. But as you notice here, you'll look down on the years and you see '07 and '08, and those were the reaction periods for the crash. Hardly any correction. In 2008, a negative 0.26%, not even a 1%. In 2009, negative 2.29%. I'm sure a lot of us can remember that the correction in those periods when it came to real estate were in the double digits, and it was a time of everybody. It was very humbling. But as you can see, all the green in the years, and this starts from 99, goes all the way down to 2023. Again, we'd love to have real estate information faster, but it seems like it takes forever to get. So we're going down to 2023. You know, everything, if you look at everything probably from about 2012 all the way into 2022, very strong in this area. And you know, granted, a lot of markets did really well during the boom of 2020 to about mid 2022 before the rates really changed. And anytime you have something and growth the growth that fast and appreciation, you know you're going to have some corrections in the market. But again, look at what happened there. You had just in between, if we had to make a guess here, between 2021 and 2022, it's about 31%, and then another 7.5% in 2020. So, I mean, you're talking 39% of an increase in 3 years, and then the correction is not even, it's 3.23%. And you know, probably a small correction in 2024, but ultimately, I mean, in a 3 to 4 year period, if you're going to make 30% on something, that's a great investment. And we haven't seen that in our lifetimes, which you can see in these numbers even recently. You know, we haven't seen that. So we expect a little bit of a correction on it. But what's nice about it is you see that this market is not super reactive when it comes to the corrections. So we've been very pleased with the area. Again, my wife and I invest in this area, Vince invests in this area. It's been a very strong area. But we definitely wanted to touch on the appreciation. So
yeah,
employment.
Gerard, just really quick too, well, just to kind of one step back on that. One thing that I think a lot of people who may not look at a lot of these charts, right, is the consistency, right? That consistency since 1999, and you can kind of see that median trend line, how basically smooth and up and to the right that is. Whereas, like, for example, we do a lot of business in Florida as well, and I can be very confident in saying that it is a much different path in Florida, right? There's a lot of higher peaks and lower valleys, and I think that suits some investors very well, right? Which is like trying to time markets and trying to maybe get in at the bottom and sell at the top. It's a little bit more of an active potential role. Whereas, like, you can see here that there's a really strong chance of consistent appreciation, at least in the long term, right? If you in any market, if you have a really short turnaround time and you don't let the market do what it can do, it's hard to profit there. But I think that consistency is really sought after as a safe place, or as a safe bet, that being New Braunfels, Texas.
Great point, Vince. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about the employment. As I mentioned, I worked for Ashley Furniture. It was the largest licensee of Ashley Furniture in the world. They were office, and they still office out of New Braunfels, right next to Canyon High School. They own licenses for Ashley Furniture in the Pacific Northwest, mainly in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and then also a number of different large cities in Texas, including Houston, Austin, San Antonio. And it was great to work for them. I can tell you it was always difficult getting to work because the traffic was so big and the infrastructure was catching up. But again, when you're investing in real estate, that's a good thing. There's a lot happening when you start seeing that. But it was great to work in this area and see things. But you can see some of the larger employers here, and believe it or not, that's the real number: 2,300 employees for Schlitterbahn Water Park. That's how big of a water park that is. Walmart distribution center, some other ones that are big. Taskus is a large IT company. Cisco, and then Christa Santa Rosa. There's a huge hospital that they have there in New Braunfels. And Green, Texas, Green, I can't stress that enough, that if you decide that you're going to invest in New Braunfels and you come through, Vince will tell you that it's an amazing little experience out in this side of the hill country, to be able to see the historic area of Green, a lot of little shops and live music, fantastic restaurants. I mean, you just want to go there, you want to park there and just walk around for a day or two, stay by the river, and just really enjoy the beauty of everything. Yeah. And then, so let's talk about some of the big projects that are going on. The River Mill project is, I see a lot of these in the bigger cities. San Antonio has one. It's a multi-use real estate, large project. It's called the Pearl. This is almost like the same, I'd say the same type of project. It's close to $1 billion. It's going to have 900 multifamily apartments, 83,000 square feet of retail space, and 130,000 square feet of office space. And as you can see in this picture here, it's right by the water, gorgeous views. I've been to this area. There's some restaurants in this area right by that bridge to the right of the picture. It's just a beautiful area. And you can see people out there on kayaks. People take full advantage of these rivers here. They're great. This is a great project. Another one that we have here is the Midtown Mayfair. If you're driving north on I-35 and you're passing through New Braunfels, you can't help to miss, when you get to the northern part of New Braunfels, that on both sides of you there are huge signs talking about Mayfair and what's coming. It's almost like its own municipality. And this is 6,000 residential units that are coming, including multifamily townhomes, single family homes, 330 acres of parks, 35 miles of trails and green spaces. I mean, it is really exciting to see what's happening, but I mean, they're throwing concerts just to bring people in and say, hey, just come and check it out, see what's going on. But when you start seeing projects like this of investors coming in of this magnitude, on top of Vince, I forgot to even mention here, we've got two areas right outside of New Braunfels, probably within a 30-minute drive, maybe 45 minutes on Bastrop, but San Marcos, that's that college town I was talking about. Both of those are getting 200 acres for major motion picture studios, and they're building those right now. Matthew McConaughey is a big piece of that. He actually is a professor at UT Austin, and he is really big. He's made a lot of announcements. You've probably seen in the news lately that he's really wanted to bring a lot of the major motion picture business to Texas, and there's a lot backing him up. And so there's major projects that are coming in, but this Mayfair project is really impressive when you see how much ground it covers. And then you see, when you go through New Braunfels, you see a lot of older homes that have been regentrified, and it's the beauty of the city. And there's plenty of new construction homes as well. But when you're this area in this picture here looks like it's closer to the downtown area, but you're starting to see some really nice beautification projects. You'll see like the bike lanes, you'll see the upgraded sidewalks, the street lights, just a lot of things that really tell you like, wow, the city's growing, and you know, we're doing our best to really keep everything up, instead of, you know, having some of these cities that just, they have these great areas and they move on to the new areas and the old areas get forgotten. That's not what's happening here. They're doing a great job of really making the city look pretty. So let's talk a little bit about the investments and what we see here. Vince and I looked at a couple of single family homes, and we looked at a couple duplexes, and these were the top four that really kind of stood out. We'd love to have a conversation to go further into detail. We're going to touch on this pretty quickly right now. We're going to go through this first. This is a single family that we'll touch on first. Like most investments that we're seeing, the single families are really kind of break even, maybe slight. You might have a little bit of cash flow after fixed expenses, but ultimately right now, what we're noticing on the single family is the lenders or the builders are giving incentives, but nothing like what they're doing on the multifamily, on the duplex products that are out there. So, still great products. This one is in Seguin. This is actually, when you pull out of this community for this location, 4060 Lily Glade Lane in Seguin, you see the sign that says New Braunfels city limits. We had to throw this one in there. It's right there on the edge. It's a gorgeous community. Centex Pulte is the builder, and I like that because they're really kind of a middle of the ground, builder when it comes to quality, when it comes to fixtures, finishes, and everything. And that makes a difference when somebody's coming in to rent. But ultimately, what I like about this community is the price is very affordable. But when you go in, you see a lot of larger homes as well. Homes $400,000 plus to 2,500 square feet plus. And so I like that as compared to some of these cookie cutter, very affordable builders that you see. And this one really struck my attention. Then Vince and I were talking about it, the price on it. We'll start there on the right. Let's go down this one and be pretty intentional. And then we'll kind of go a little faster through the next ones. Price on this one, $232,000, $290,000. If you're paying all cash, the builder will knock 5%, additional 5% off of that. The down payment, we're assuming 30% in this. Initial repair costs, I put about $4,000. These builders do provide a nice home, but you're gonna need to provide and the single families, a refrigerator, maybe garage door opener. It's very important when you're trying to get a renter in there that you have these essentials. Sometimes they don't put the window coverings on, and sometimes they don't have ceiling fans. These are all things that we've seen as important items to have when you're renting a property. So we account for that in there and just kind of let you know. So closing costs are estimated about 2.8%. On these new construction, we put those in there, but a lot of times we do our best to try and see if the builder will cover closing costs or buy the rate down, or sometimes do both. So that takes us to investment capital needed, right about $80,000 for this home. Gross rents are about $1,675 right now for this home. This you can buy down as an investor. You can buy down, or the builder can provide money to buy down to 6 1/8 on the interest rate here. That is a 30-year fixed. Taxes, a little bit about taxes too is, in Texas, we watch those pretty heavily, and Vince will tell you we protest those. So whenever the taxes come up, there's companies that we use that we've learned of a few that do a really good job. I use one for mine as well. So the taxes you see over here right now on that 389.45 are based on the price times the tax rate. And with that being said, in this community, the tax rate is 2.01%. I pay around 2.8 over in downtown San Antonio, but a lot of these new construction communities that we have in the duplexes range from 1.35 to maybe the high 1.7%. So we have some good options that are available, as we'll talk through. Going on to the insurance, we've got a number of insurance companies that have done a lot of work. Some of the insurance agents we use are investors with Marshall Reddick, so they know exactly what you're looking to insure. They know the policies that they can recommend to you based on these types of properties, and they'll give you other options if there's more that you need to feel comfortable, like if there was something in flood insurance or anything like that. Typically the lender would tell you if there was something like that, but some people say, hey, I just want it anyway. These insurance agents are really, really versed in being able to help you with any concern or any question or any type of that you need there. Let's see. So on the management fee on a single family, it is 9% of the rent. HOA fee, that is correct on this one, $50 a month. Utilities are covered and landscaping are covered by the tenants. Becomes their responsibility once they rent the property. So monthly income on this, $8.86. You think about it, you say, wow, $80,000 that I put down, and I make a monthly income after fixed expenses of $8.86. Real estate is the long game. And you definitely want to look at something like this as the long game. Monthly income, you want to look for opportunities of how can I increase this? Well, you can increase rents. On top of that, as I mentioned on the taxes, this is based off of what your purchase price is times the tax rate. The lender's going to take that out in the first year. Very commonly, and in these properties we've talked about, I've seen them coming back at anywhere between like 70% to 85% on a county tax assessed value times the tax rate. So there's a good possibility when you complete your first year and your mortgage company does an escrow analysis that they might be sending you a check back saying, hey, there was extra money in this account, and by the way, we need to bring the payment down. So those are things that we can look at individually at each property, and we can see how other properties in the community have performed, give you a good idea of where that's going to be at. So there's different ways that we look at things. Vince and I are always looking at the market, considering what's happening, our customers' investments, and are there things we can do to help them out, and always answering questions when people have them. So next we'll talk about, below there are some variable expenses. Beauty of the properties that we are recommending, they're new construction. In variable expenses, estimated maintenance, well, you get a 1-2-10 Texas standard warranty on these, and the probability of you having any major maintenance expenses would be pretty unique in this early period. Also on vacancies, we work very hard in these communities to be able to, if you're going to use us for management, we will try and negotiate in with some of these new construction builders. Mainly the duplexes let us do it. Sometimes we have to wait until the home is closed with the single families. And on this next single family that we have, it's already pre-leased out. So it just depends. Are you working with a tract builder? Are you working with a builder that's more of like a boutique builder? And sometimes we're able to do that, where sometimes we have a renter in there before you even complete your purchase. And then talks about leasing fee and those variable expenses. Well, that's 50% of 1 month's rent. That's how our property management works. Some companies do 2 months. We feel like we can do that at the 50% of 1 month's rent. And the idea there is to find, put somebody in there for a year, find out, hey, are they a good tenant? It's a test drive between you, it's a test drive between them. If things seem good and they go for a rental renewal, then your fees are spread out over more months, essentially taking your costs down and raising your profits. So, we're always looking, if they're a good renter, we do our best to keep them there for you. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, just before you continue on, that's so awesome, and thanks for breaking down that first one so well. One thing you're going to notice that's a common theme in new construction, as Gerard touched on, is the incentives, right? And those can be taken in different forms. And we've really toggled with this over the last few years, because incentives right now in new construction are not a new concept. It's not a new thing. So what we've seen though is the adjustment from those incentives that were typically, originally like, hey, we'll pay for some, or we'll add some appliances, or we'll add some kind of finishes, to we'll do that plus closing costs, to maybe that plus closing costs, plus we'll let you the price will come down a little bit. And really the final one that's really helped move the needle is rewinding, interest rates, meaning like getting rates back to when they were a couple years ago. You'll see here, this one's 6.125, which is probably not overly impressive to a lot of folks, but we have a few examples in here that I think would be hard to touch even a couple years ago. So I think that's what really helps move the needle on these numbers, is particularly the cash flow. That's what is going to have the greatest impact on the cash flow, is the rate.
Very good point, Vince. Yeah, and as we talked about here, monthly income, you're going to see that we have the big green box around after fixed expenses. And again, that's because we talked about those variable expenses under there. You see estimated monthly cash flow in year 15, negative 255.41. Well, that normally doesn't look very appealing. But understand this, that those are considered that you have a lot of maintenance in there, you have a lot of vacancies, and that you're turning people over pretty frequently. And again, these are all things that we have a well-oiled machine put together to do our best to help you make the most that you can. And it's the same way that we like to be treated on our investments. So When you take a look down at the bottom, some of the really nice numbers that you can see there is 15-year profit on this. This considers the money that your cash flows are coming in, which technically, if the way that this is considered here, it's considered negative, as if you had negative 255 every month. I mean, you had a lot of those variable expenses we talked about, which we know the new construction is not normally the case. And then it takes into consideration the amount of money that is paid down on your principal by a renter. It takes into account appreciation and then even selling costs. It goes that far into it. So when you look at these profit numbers, these are really well thought out numbers that, again, if you can keep your cash flows positive and stay as far away from those variable expenses as possible, then you have a good possibility of creating a positive number there, and these numbers even go up. It's the most conservative way that we can put this and compare these side by side to show you which investment is better than the other without creating any room for any surprises. And so in this case, you'll see here, we'll go through and look at these a little bit faster. This is a single family in the Seguin area. Let's take a look at the next one. This is a unique scenario. This is a home. Price on this one is $262,000. It's a 2-story in actual Seguin proper. Our builder that builds our duplexes built this single family community, and they are moving their resources out. So they are selling these at a discount. They are bringing the rate down to 5.25 on this. I believe that's on a 10-6 arm. Vince, we can talk more about that later, but 5.25 for an investor, and the renters are already in there. So you don't have to worry about the vacancy. So this one has a monthly income after fixed expenses of 76.77. 15-year projected profit, 161,705. 15-year annual ROI, 12.54%. So that's another good option we have.
And one thing to add to that, Gerard, and you touched on this earlier, the nice thing about these numbers, and this speaks to all of them across the board, is for that profit, right? We are not factoring in any rental increases. So this is making the assumption that the rents stay exactly the same for 15 years straight. I don't know how many of you folks are renting now or remember what it was like to rent, but as someone who was renting not that long ago, I can assure you that that is not the case. Rents are going up pretty frequently. So I think, like Gerard said, that is ultra conservative in that logic. And then lastly is, he made a lot of good points on explaining how we arrive at that profit number. Right now in tonight's presentation, it's simply a PDF version of the calculators. When you go online and you look at these properties, we have the formulas of how we arrive at all of these numbers interactively on the website. So for those of you that are a little bit more analytical and want to dive into those figures more and try to understand those, we have the resources for you online, and we're happy to show you how to do that. So just wanted to point that out. If any of you were kind of scratching your head figuring out, well, how would I arrive at that number, we do have those resources and the path to do it.
Absolutely. This is very high level. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about the duplexes. You're going to see quite a bit of a difference here on the duplexes. Now, the duplexes are going to cost more money up front. However, take a look at the differences on the incentives, take a look at the differences in the cash flows, and especially in the 15-year ROIs and projected profit. So in this case right now, this is in New Braunfels. This is a duplex, brand new construction. This builder, the price of $545. Did my screen just blank out?
It did go black, but let's see. Let's give it a minute here. Maybe we can back up.
There we go. Okay, good. Okay, let me back up there. It came back. Not sure what the technology gremlins are doing there, but okay. So back to this one, $545,000. What you notice here, if you go down to the rate, 3.75% interest rate for an investor. And I have people call me all the time and say, is this a real rate? It absolutely is. This is a unique program for investors, probably the most common that's used. This is an ARM rate. A lot of people hear ARM and they I don't want to hear it. I don't want to do it. I would highly recommend you that if you're going to keep this property, to consider this, because this is actually fixed at 3.75% for the first 10 years. It does not have a prepayment penalty on it. And the preferred lender that we use has what you call a rate rebound program. And that allows you for a next to no cost, a very low cost option to go ahead and refinance that within the first 5 years after you do this. These have been really, really good. It's been a good product for us. But again, look at the monthly income, 240 at 11. Is positive. It gives you some room to kind of breathe a little bit there. You know that it's you're not going to have any nickel and dime and everything. But then look at the 15-year projected profit. We were talking about 140,000, 160,000. Yes, we're talking about double the amount that you're putting down on the investment capital, but look at your 15-year projected profit, $482,000. That's quite a bit more. And then you look at the 15-year annual ROI, 18.38%. It's quite a big difference. And these being new construction in the area of New Braunfels have been highly successful. And we do have some, there's a new batch that just completed. We were waiting on some to be done. There are some that are completed. So, if anybody really finds this interesting, Vince and I would love to talk a little bit more about it, any of these properties. I'll go ahead and move on to the next one. This is a little bit further north of New Braunfels. This is on I-35, actually considered South Austin, and a very unique opportunity on these as well. These are going to be priced higher. They appreciate more. They act more like Austin does. This is a new community located about a 17-minute drive from the Austin International Airport. We've had great success. We actually have a property management office in this community. We've rented out one of the units, and we've had a lot of success with getting these rented out. Actually, right now, I think we're even a little low on inventory because they're building some more as they finish up. We do have some available right now, but the ones that are available are leased out. So we can talk a little bit more about that. But price on this single story duplex, this is almost 1,500 square feet per side, 2-car garage each side. Inside, you have 11-foot ceilings, so it feels very grand when you walk in. Very open floor plan. You have covered back patios. The front yards are cut by the HOA, and it's just very well taken care of. What's unique about this area is there are not a lot of opportunities in this area. If there's duplexes out there, a lot of times the large investors are coming out and they're building them and holding them. So it's nice to have opportunities out here to be able to be able to purchase something individually versus having to get into a larger investment like that. And you can see the monthly income, investment capital on this is just under $200,000. However, monthly income on the cash flow is $379.51. Look at that 15-year projected profit, $658,000. And again, this profit is on top of what you came into. It takes into consideration, appreciation, everything else. This is money that you're making. It's quite a difference. And when Vince and I say, we really mean that these are long-term holds. Luckily, the real estate market's not anywhere near as reactive as other markets for other investments. But history speaks for itself. It's done really well. That 15-year annual ROI, 22.07%. I mean, as Vince was talking about too, in these conservative ways of being able to raise interest rates, manage your tax bill by protesting, doing all of these things that we can, try and manage your variable expenses. There's a good possibility these numbers are very conservative, and we've been very successful with this. We've been happy. We've had a lot of return buyers, and super blessed to have these properties. So and we're blessed to have you all to be able to talk to and kind of spread the good news of everything that's happening in this these investments over here. And at this point, I'm gonna pass it back to Vince, talk a little bit about property management.
Awesome, Gerard. Thanks so much, man. That's really great, and lots of benefits there for those new builds. So happy you touched on that. And as you guys, as Gerard mentioned, property management is a huge component of this. I mean, while we may be able to seek out great properties in a great area, the day-to-day operation is really the kind of what makes this happen. How do you get to a 15-year hold by trying to manage this remotely by yourself? And the answer is you don't. You lean on property management, and we have awesome resources there. So yeah, just some kind of bullet points here on our property management. I'm happy to go into more detail for anybody who's interested in learning a little bit more about what that entails. But essentially, our job is to enforce the lease, right? We want to find quality tenants. We want to take care of the property and enforce the lease and make sure that we keep everybody. You stay out of court, right? Make sure everybody is on the up and up, and things are going smoothly. We like to offer our data packets. These are free to anybody. You can get the link here at the bottom, marshallreddick.com/market data. These just go into more of the demographics, kind of the nuts and bolts what Gerard and I were talking about today on the presentation. It's just in a paper form, or in pamphlet form, I should say. So these are free, and we have these on all of our markets. I'm happy to send any of these to you that are interested. For those of you that enjoyed tonight's presentation and likes learning more about these kind of educational topics, whether it's on a market that we're in, whether it's on a service that we provide, whether it's on a kind of a third-party service that we have presentations on taxes and 1031 exchanges, as an insurance. So you guys can, all of this is free to you. We encourage you guys to tune in, leverage those resources. Again, I'm happy to send a topic to you that if you can't find it, and be able to get that to you. Please check out our Yelp, Zillow, Google reviews. This is a good way to get familiar with what people are saying about us. In case you are new to Marshall Reddick, we do encourage people to go in and do your research. We feel strong about it. Here's all of our platforms that we're on. So yeah, we're really excited about having you guys on. I will be doing some follow-up calls within the next day or so. So if you do get a call from me, I'm just looking to kind of learn a little bit more about what brought you to the presentation, and if there was anything we missed. So that conversation could be 1 minute, that conversation could be an hour, right? And if you want to set it up, or we want to get on the phone with Gerard and talk more about market and areas and properties, we can totally do that. So really happy to have all of you guys on. Really grateful for the opportunity to speak to all of you. And my contact information is here. I'm happy to share Gerard's contact at any time. Gerard, I want to thank you so much for your time and expertise in putting together a really awesome presentation for us. So greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, hope you guys have a great night.
Have a good one.